So, hello again. Here we are, just on 2 o'clock, and back for the next session with Denise, who is going to be talking to you about her journey. Just before I explain and welcome her in, can I please ask you, because we've got an issue with Facebook, because it's got its own little bug running around in the world at the moment. We've had to come live to you via a different route, so we can't see comments as Denise is going to be talking. So it'd be great if you can either put comments in YouTube or add them straight into the Facebook page. So that'd be really, really helpful. We're holding a prize draw at the end of today, after the sessions are finished, to give away £1,500 worth of career coaching. So everybody that is engaging with us, you will go into that draw, and I'll talk a lot more about that when I come on tonight on the 7:30 session. So we've got a really busy day, but Denise is coming on now, and she's got a different story to share to other presenters, because she's, I think, really successfully achieved what so many people that I talk to aspire to, in that they're in an organisation, they really love their business, it suits them in so many ways, but they've actually want to move into a different area. They want to use skills differently, they want to learn something new, and sometimes making the transition either inside or outside an organisation can be really, really challenging. And so Denise achieved that, and not only achieved it, but the skills she developed whilst making that transition, she successfully used to set up her own business as well. And so she's got a 9 till 5, and then she's got an after hours business that's a real passion for her. So she's going to share that with you now, and I'll just welcome Denise in. There we are. Hi.
Lovely,
I'll just put your...
lovely. Thank you.
All right, I'll catch up with you later.
Great, thank you, Denise. Can you see me and hear me okay? I'm assuming you can.
Yeah, it's all good, Denise, all good.
I suddenly can't hear you, but that's okay. I will keep going on the assumption you can all hear me.
Yeah. It's all good. We can hear you.
Perfect, great. And good afternoon, everyone. And this Thursday afternoon, I am going to talk to you about evolving your career, as Denise has mentioned, two Denises, my namesake. And we're going to talk about, really, even if you are in an organization and looking to move out of your organization, it still will be applicable to how you can evolve your career, whether within an organization or into a new one. And the reason why I want to do that is because actually I do have years and years of experience, mainly within the corporate role. But guess what? It can still be applied to any role, even outside corporate, or whether it's even a voluntary organization as well. And so I'm going to start off with a little bit about who I am. And as Denise said, I do a 9 till 5 and I do a 5 till 9. So my 5 to 9 is showing there first. And what that's all about is helping people really build up their emotional intelligence. It's all about being socially aware, self-aware, and even business aware as well, of how to build really good, strong relationships using your emotional capital. And so that's part of what I do, 5 till 9. But my 9 till 5 is using similar skills, actually, within HS2 to really work with a number of people. I work right across the matrix to help them with safety engagement and health engagement as well, actually, and well-being, and also work with them as developing their culture, the culture development of thinking and looking after themselves all the time really, really well. And my daughter always teases me because at most afternoons when she hears me on calls, I'm always talking about, I care, you count, we matter. You can use that slogan for lots of things, but that's one of the brandings that I've just created to help engage and make people aware of their surroundings, their safety, their health, and their well-being. And when you are looking for roles, that's really important that you consider who you are, how much you care about yourself, how much you want to evolve, how much you then want to make the right decisions when you are going to move from role A to role B. And then also on the journey, how are you learning? And that's really important, because when you take the time out to learn about who you are, it then helps you evolve within an organization as well. So do keep that in mind. So in terms of who I am as well, I put these 4 pictures or 5 pictures up, and I'm 4. I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. The top picture are my 3 children, and every single one of them have been involved in some way, shape, or form about how I have evolved in my career. If you do have family around you, your own family, or living with family, or have a community that you are really in connection with, whether it's external family, that's sometimes quite important in how it shapes what you do next and how you then evolve your career. Now, in particular, that top picture there, you can see my son, the youngest son, is bent down with the cap on, and he's in a GB outfit because right now he is evolving his championship status. He does long jump for Great Britain, and he's in that stage now of trying to jump a little bit further so that come July, he will be at the Olympics for Tokyo. So that was one of my proud moments. But it's just a picture to really highlight to you your family help you evolve as well when you see their confidence and their commitment to you. Just on the right-hand side there, used to speak a lot on stage with lots of people around us. Hopefully we will get back to that point at some time in the future. But due to COVID, that's not quite happening. So I'm doing a lot of it more really online. And then the 2 bottom pictures are just to the left there. You can see where I was actually doing a book signing for authoring, because a lot of my evolving in my career has been a bit about my thinking. It's linked to my thinking, and it's linked to how I wanted to pursue and set goals. And so one of the books that I authored was around picturing your dreams, goals, and plans. And then the bottom picture there is a recent one where it's highlighted to me that actually, if you are going to evolve in your career, for me, a lot of it was about what am I learning? What am I visionary about for my career? Or what am I visionary about for the organization I'm in? And what could take it further? What could evolve my organization? Because of that, that's what caused me to really go deep. And I got a patent granted last year, actually, for a piece of work that I've invented to help with training. So that's a little bit about Denise Farquharson. But for you today, I want you to think a little bit more about, well, what will you have at the end of this session? Well, I want you to get an understanding of an insight into what to say. Let's assume you're already in the organization. What are you saying? Who are you saying it to? And what tone are you even saying it in? And how is that being taken on, understood, to help you evolve? Then I'm also going to go through a couple of things about how to show up, how to really have that being in there at the right time, at the right place. And I'll give you some examples of how I've done that. And then lastly, I want you to have at the end of this session just some ideas really about how to really create presence. It's a little bit more difficult virtually, but it's okay. There's still a way to do it virtually and create presence when you're in front of a recruiter, agencies, companies, organizations, even just to explore an organization and have a meeting with them, even before they've even advertised an opportunity, is a good way to create presence to evolve your career as well. And so in terms of why Denise and my corporate roles, now remember, you can apply this to non-corporate roles as well. But for me, it was about my values. If I want to evolve, I wanted these 3 things at the forefront of my mind: vision, culture, and strategy. And what I mean by that is, for vision, I wanted to see, where is the company going? What impact are they making on the world? And therefore, does that line up with my beliefs, my values, my way of thinking? And even if it didn't line up perfectly, it's got to sit right that I either work for company A or company B, or I sit in department A or department B. I also think about the culture of the organization as well. Is their culture around the people, the process, or the system? I'll say that again. Is their culture more focused on the people, the process, or the system. And what I mean by that is any organization that you are currently in, if everything they do is around the people, and they have a product and service that is doing well, stick with them. If the most of the attention is around the process, then the culture of that company is not so people focused. And as long as you tick the box and follow the process, then that's the main culture of that company. That may work for you if you are that way oriented and like systems and like structure, strong structure. That's absolutely fine. But if you're more people oriented in your personality or an extrovert, then it may not be the type for you. Then I also thought about strategy. Where is a company going? What's their plans? How are they helping the world? Who are they impacting? Who are they helping? Who are their charities, for instance? And who are they supporting alongside the product and the service that comes out of that organization? And so because of that, and I've always had that pretty much most of my career, and I'm talking, I went into corporate when I was 21. That's a few decades ago, okay? That's all I'm saying, just a few decades ago. And so I consider those things every step of the way: vision, culture, and strategy of the organization. And so let me take you now through 4 corporate roles that I took on and evolved in every single one of them. And I've only picked out the 4 that I think will be really relevant to the amazing work that Denise is doing with the Elevate Career Coaching, especially during this time, because people need this. You need this. And any support and help that you can get from Denise to really elevate, love the word, then now's a good time to just really stay hooked in to the group and learning from what Denise has got to offer within the group. And so I'll start off with Severn Trent Water. I don't know where you're calling from or listening in to, but Severn Trent Water is the second largest water company within the UK. It's classed as a utilities sector, but it's mainly water, laboratories, and sewage works. And so when I was probably about 21, I joined that company. And I started to work in the laboratory as a microbiologist, hence the reason why I got the Petri dish there underneath the microscope. Loved it. Analysed water from reservoirs, from customer taps, from rivers, from water treatment works. We were looking at salmonella, E. coli, etc., etc. Great microbiological experience. But then what was happening was I was looking at the data and writing the data down. And in those days, it was pretty much write it all down. We had computers at that time. I'm not that old. We did have computers. However, I was finding that I couldn't correlate the data as effectively as I'd like to. And when I was trying to do it, I couldn't print it off in the way that I could or wanted to. And I remember one day, the area manager was walking around and saw me with a printer, with the data, with all this information, and I was doing something that was outside of the box. It was not being done by anybody else in the laboratory at all, but I was just fascinated by the data. And he saw a picture. I've got a picture here of the plotter that I was using at the time. Some of you may not remember these particular machines, but all it did was plotted the graphs for me. With that, he turned around and said to me, well, I've got a plotter in my main office over in Coventry at the time. I was based in Warwick, over in Coventry, he said. And with that conversation, just with that conversation, he there and then said, I'll come back to you next week. I think I've got a promotion for you. And would you be interested in being seconded, not a permanent role, but just being seconded for 6 to 12 months in my office so you can use a plotter, bring your data with you, and you can explore that even further. Well, that just really intrigued me, excited me. And here in front of you, I've got a list of different things that it created. And I want you to think about this as well. I want you in the organization that you're in to expand your knowledge. Don't just stick to the job description. Okay? Go beyond what is being asked of you. And that's what I was doing. I had data everywhere on pieces of paper and pulled out printer paper and all sorts. I just didn't have the physical plotter to load it properly and show the graphs that I wanted to show. It says there, just be curious. Find out what others are doing. So that conversation that I had with that area manager that day made me realize, hang on a second, the lab that I was located at was doing X, but the area headquarters site was doing Y. I'd like to get involved with Y and create the Z. It really intrigued me. But I want you to consider, do your current job, if you are in it, do it with an extra hint. And what I mean by that is just explore what else is going on outside of my function, outside of my team, and expand your knowledge. Do it that way, because then that will help you so that when you get that conversation like I had with that area manager, you'll be ready. You'll be ready because you've started to explore beyond your job description. So there's just one action. That's all out of this that I'd like to share with you for the first job role. And that's just to be bold. Just be confident in talking to senior staff. Because guess what? They will see things in a very strategic view. They know when they're going to do a reorganization. They know the gaps in their organization. They know what's coming up. They know the new roles that are coming up. They know the resource plans. They know how much they're going to have to peak in resources and how much they're going to have to reduce the resources. So do just be bold, open up and speak up. Okay. And in terms of my second role, then I stayed within Severn Trent for quite a while. And then I decided I wanted to go for promotion. By now, it was probably another 12 or 13 years on. And I realized, okay, I am going to apply for a very senior role as an application support manager. So at this point, I'd moved from sciences into IT within the same organization and different roles, different functions. And I applied for the role, gave a great interview, and I'm sure Denise will help you with the interviewing techniques. And we probably, actually, I think we do have someone coming on as well, speaking about that. But being able to interview really well is quite important. Guess what? This is what helped me evolve into a new role. And it was not the application support manager role. It ended up being that they weren't going to just send me a letter to say yes or no, I received the job. They wanted to speak to me, and they spoke to all the candidates and let them know. So I went in and they said, Denise, you have not received that promotion. You will not get that job as the application support manager. However, things that you said during the interview helped us to realize that actually we have to create a new role, and we would like you to take on that role. And that was a role that I'd never even heard of within IT at all at that point in time. It was about release management. What I want to point out to you here is I spoke with passion in that interview. I spoke again about some things that I had attempted to do that didn't quite work. And I needed that senior support to make it happen. I showed them some things that I felt were positive suggestions, not negative suggestions. And that's what's perked up their interest in me doing that new role instead. And even though I had a feeling I didn't get the job, I didn't enter the room with disdain. I still entered the room as if I was going for the second interview. I want you to consider that. Even when you're being told no, don't give up on that. Still appear as if you are in the role. Is it kind of fake it till you make it? Something like that. But I already spoke as if I already had the role. And I didn't. But I got a new role. And that made all the difference. And so what I want to share with you here is that the action I want you to consider is, if you are about to go for an interview, then get ready with the next steps. I want you to explore the company. And that's not just to explore the company for your specific job description, but even when you are in the interview and you're going into the interview for manager A, for function A, I want you to think about, well, what about manager B, function B? So you will be saying things like, oh, I see that you have a sales department that does X. I've got some background on that, and this is how I will use that in this role, for instance. And if you're transitioning and you're awaiting interview, then I would definitely want you to consider these recommendations. Walk in, follow up that actual no with a letter to say, well, thank you very much, but I also recognize that you have got openings in this area or this area. Would that also fit? It's always worth just doing that last little bit of follow-up, for sure. In my case, it meant I got a brand new role within the company. The third one I want to share with you is a very interesting one, because it's when I had actually gone and got my full qualifications for coaching. I then got called up to work for Jaguar Land Rover. Again, I left Severn Trent. I went into a brand new organization that I had never worked for. Now, remember what I said earlier. I consider vision, culture, and strategy as being really key. And I remember this particular role, I was really 50-50 about accepting it. But what ended up happening is that earlier I talked to you about the plotter conversation that I had with the area manager. I then had the post-interview conversation within Severn Trent. In this case, I now ended up having a challenging conversation. Reason being, they took me into this particular company to do IT release management, which was fine, and I know I could do that. But whilst starting that role, I again turned on Denise's sort of spherical view of the world and spotted issues and challenges in various areas. And the areas that I'd noticed it happening was in the design engineering realm. Now, this is before you saw all those beautiful cars that we see now, the F-Pace and the Evoque and the Baby Evoque, etc. But I had to have some time with the design engineers before I could actually put in the computer systems. I had to do some coaching with them. And that coaching was around, actually, you do not have to design the way you did in the 60s, 70s, 80s. We're now going into a new 21st century way of designing. And it's getting them to just think differently. And so the challenging conversation here, if you are in that position and you're spotting a gap, or you're spotting where you can influence, persuade, create an environment to think, be what I've described there, a visionary. What if? Just ask the question, what if? Because you've spotted the gap. And if you speak up about it, then that gives you the opportunity then to, and stay persistent, but it gives you the opportunity to then evolve into a different realm of the organization, or it prepares you for the next organization that you're going to join. And so the action I'd like you to consider here is, just consider where you are now. What's happening at a micro level? Because if you're pulled in to do a particular project, A, B, or C, you may not be able to do it as well as they would like you to, because something else is a risk, something else is an issue or a constraint to that project being handled effectively, or for that product to be created effectively, or for you to deliver that service as effectively as you'd like to. Do ask the questions, if only, and what if? Lastly, I'm just going to cover my final piece that I want to share with you around evolving a corporate role. And this one is around, now that I'm in Network Rail, which is, those of you who may be calling from outside of the UK, Network Rail is the company that runs the full railway infrastructure across the UK, Scotland, Wales, England. And working there, it's an interesting picture I've got there actually, because it highlights probably the way my brain works. I've got a creative side, arty side, coaching side, and then I can do the numbers. I can do IT. I can crunch the finances and the accounting. And I'm kind of, my evolving roles over the time has been because my brain is kind of like that, really. So think about who you are. Think about how you work, because obviously, if you are in a company that will help you thrive from that perspective, that's really quite powerful. And for me, working there, it was an opportunity conversation. What was happening is, even though I was there, and in fact, I think I was their first IT release manager that they ever had, because it was a new role at the time across the IT sector, I read newsletters within the company. I spent time getting involved in networks, and I would ask the questions. And by doing that, it then worked out that they had a pretty small but active coaching pool. And by asking questions, I then found out through HR that they were going to ramp up the coaching pool, because guess what? They were going to ramp up their senior executives and reorganize the top level of the organization, which means I then ended up working in the coaching pool as a full-time role eventually, and helping to actually coach their senior executives, which was really, again, that creative, arty coaching side, and still be able to talk engineering and talk about mathematical computations of the railway with them, which was a benefit. So I want you to think about you. How can you be really effective in conversations that you have, what you read within the company? And I want you to just take a chance. Just take a chance, because you never ever know. And those are just 4 examples. I can give you lots more, but those are just 4 examples of how I have been able to just take that chance, be bold enough to speak up and find out, and have that presence in order to help move myself from A to B to C. I love these 3 that I'm going to share with you, Richard Branson. If somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, you haven't got a clue how, just say yes, okay? And learn how to do it later. They know you're going to have a ramp up. Any organization that you join, they know you're not going to hit the road running straight away. So just go for it from that perspective. Oprah Winfrey says the greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change future by merely changing attitude. So sometimes you're going to have to rethink, what is my attitude now? If you've been out of work for a long time, don't let that worry you. Just get the attitude into that mindset way of thinking that you can be absolutely successful in your career. And then Elon Musk talks about, when something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds are not in your favor. And maybe people around you may be saying some things that just don't fit. Just go for it anyway. That fearless motivation. So Denise says, transform your challenges into success. I would always encourage you to stretch yourself so that you can succeed. When you succeed, you will absolutely soar. So remember, these are just examples that I've given you over the years that I've been around, and how I've been able to just do that duplicate role based on how my creative side versus my IT numbering side has kicked in. Think about you and yourself. So I wanted you to have, at the end of this session, insight into what to say. Hopefully you've written down some things that you can say for your next interview. How to show up, speak up, be bold, and how to create a presence so that your career can evolve over time, depending on where you place yourself in great organizations, wherever you may be. So with that, if there are any further questions, I think, Denise, I'm going to go back over to you. All right.
Hey, we're back. Thank you, Denise. That was really, all these presentations, I've spoken to everybody previously, but every time you learn something, different. And again, there's sort of filling so many of the gaps. Where, as you've gone through that journey of all those transitions, what's been the most challenging time for you out of all of those? What's the, when was the point when you thought, oh, this is a little bit prickly?
I think the one I mentioned was with Jaguar Land Rover, because it was at the time when they were just being bought out by Tata, I think it was at the time.
Oh, right. I remember that.
And yeah, and it was literally, Jaguars are nice, but it was typically known as being, if you're 60 and you're male, you're the only people who drive a Jaguar car at the time. So if you're a design engineer and that's all you've done for so many years, and now you're going to have to start to change your thinking to create the fancy Evokes now, or the F-Pace, S-Pace, etc., which you can see now so many other different types of Jaguars on the road now, that was challenging, because talking to engineers is interesting, to say the least. So yeah, that was, but I got through it. It was hard, don't get me wrong, it was very, very hard. But remember what I said, if you stay visionary about where you're going and where it's taking you, even if you can't see where you're going, stick with it, because you will follow your gut, you'll follow your inner belief, you'll follow your intuition. And I'm a big believer in that even if it's hard, stay true to your values, even though it's challenging.
I think sometimes it's actually recognizing that you can do that. It's giving yourself permission to not just stay in that safe net. And that's what, I often find when I'm talking to people, is that it's that fear of jumping off the ledge, because they know what they want, but actually there are all those sort of mind monkeys that get in the way of saying, you can't do that, and how will we earn money, and what will people think, and all that sort of thing. So but yeah, if you can get that vision and get it really there in front of your mind, I totally agree with you. Yeah, then you can soar. Absolutely. So and so when we've spoken as well, you absolutely love your 5 to 9 work, as much your passion in your 5 to 9 work as opposed to the 9 to 5. It's two different sort of satisfactions, isn't it?
It is, actually, it is. And again, like I said, your values, your strategy, your culture, your vision. So, when I was working for 7% Water, they did so much with helping people to drink clean water. To me, as a basis for life, that was, I love a company like that, definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to, at once I was given this amazing job, Denise, and offered this amazing job, and it was all to do with, I've got to be careful how I say this now, because this is public. But it was basically creating, running systems behind the scenes to help people play online games that do lots of warrior type
okay.
fatalities and things like that. And I thought,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
That's not me. It might be somebody else, but it's not quite me. So I turned that down. So
I've just got a
stick to your
question
values.
Well, Natalie's just popped a question into us, and she's saying that really interesting, thoroughly enjoyed it. And in one of her previous roles, she provided LiDAR data for Network Rail. LIDA.
Oh, LIDAR. Yeah. So I probably helped to put that system live, probably. Or a new version 6 or version 7, and that was what I did. I actually collected and reorganized how systems put things live, or a new version went live, so that basically we don't want the trains to stop. And that's what was happening. We'd have lots of performance issues, or trains would be late because people were just going, go live, go live, go live with various systems. So I was pulled in to help create that. So yeah, I do remember that, Natalie.
Yeah. She said, how could you, how would you find a role you're suited to, having that sort of experience?
The thing is, I could have been seen as always going down the techie route, but that's why I was saying, know yourself, know and work out your passion.
Mm.
So I found my arty, creative coachy side, and that came out in my IT side. So the reason why I can explain that a little bit more is because if you're trying to introduce something like a release management system to somebody who never doesn't know anything about it, my first engagement has to be turn on my coaching side and build a relationship with them, get to know them, be friends with them, and then help to share and enhance the reason why this is important for them. Then I'll go techie. But all of that upfront stuff is based on me getting to know myself first, and then using my coaching skills to engage them in the IT side of things. So Natalie, go away and think about your passion, your talents, your skills, or even look at your abilities that can become skills if you're really passionate about it, as well as matching those with your natural talents as well.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some of that tonight. I'm going to on the session talk about some. It's not, I can go so far in the session, but I thought we talked tonight about exploring what you look at when you're exploring for that change or that move, and just walk through the explore journey of the things you can think about, and what would I do if every job in the world paid the same? What would I do? What would it be? And I think that
sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's quite a grounding sort of an exercise too. And I think, particularly when you're starting off, like a lot of the people that are watching are in that position, really, is that they can start afresh, and that can be pretty exciting, actually, if you're not just getting into that mindset. Well, thank you very much. As always, I love talking to you. And if any other questions come up from the other mediums that we've got going, I'm so pleased that some came through today. I keep having all these bonuses happen today. It's lovely. No dropout.
Exactly. No, that's fine. Well, I'm in the group anyway, so if anybody does have any questions, I'm more than happy to just address them to me. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, I'll make sure I look out for those later. No problem.
Have a good day. Thanks for your time.
You too. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye. Okay. Wow, what a great session. And yeah, please do put the questions in the Facebook group if they come to you after the broadcast has ended. We're back on at 5 p.m. with Shireen Headley. And Shireen, she still works full time. But she's also created something really special in designing her own shoe range, and there's a really fabulous backstory to why she's done that and how she's crowdfunded for it, and I think you'll find that really, really interesting and inspiring. And then at 6:30, Tracy is coming to talk about CV. She's a CV writer, that's her specialism, and she also helps people with outplacement. So Tracy's going to come and talk about that. And then 7:30, I'm going to do our wrap-up session when, as I just said, we're going to talk about exploring how to start the job change. What is the start of that journey? What can you do? What can you think about in a sort of a more measured way than panicking and sending CVs out. So have a good afternoon, everyone, and I'll see you back on at 5 o'clock. Thank you.